25 foods Japanese-American farm families actually ate in California's Central Valley, 1900s, 1930s. 1. Farm bento, onigiri, umeboshi, tamagoyaki. A workday lunch built from rice, a salty plum, a rolled egg, and one bright pickle. Hot rice is pressed into firm triangles that fit a hand, and umeboshi tucks into the center like a promise. The pan-set egg cools and slices clean. A crisp pickle rides along for snap. It's what made sense when rice was the anchor, chicken coops were close, and pickling jars lined the porch. Field fuel that traveled from kitchen to furrow without fuss. Mid-row under a hat brim or the shade of a crate, this little box tasted like home, like careful hands, and like the rhythm of work that still left room for care. Miso soup with tofu greens. A gentle bowl. Savory broth, soft tofu cubes, bright green onion, and whatever tender greens the season allowed. The base starts with kelp and fish flakes steeped for a moment. Miso is whisked in off the heat so the aroma stays alive. Ladle, breathe, sip. Tofu shops sat near markets. Miso crocks waited in pantries, and garden bunches came in before dusk, so this was always within reach. It soothed sore hands and quieted the day, the kind of daily anchor families turn to before rice or after, reminding everyone that small bowls can hold big comfort. 3. Mugi gohan, rice mixed with barley. Steamed rice stretched with pearled barley so the pot went further and the belly felt full longer. Grains are rinsed together, soaked just enough, then steamed into one hearty mix that shines and chews. Barley was cheap when rice was precious, especially before harvest or when pay was slow, so mugi gohan balanced the ledger without scolding the appetite. It said thrift without shame, clean, steady energy for the orchard ladder, the cannery shift, the long list of chores, and it tasted honest, like a family plan that worked. Meitakwan nukazuki, pickles with rice, the bright briny snap that finished a plate, daikon glowing yellow from a long cure, cucumbers scented with rice bran, both sliced thin and served beside rice. Garden gluts became winter insurance in crocks packed by hand, turned and checked, rinsed and trimmed when ready. Salt and thyme made vegetables keep, and a cool pantry kept the heat at bay, so there was always something crisp to wake a tired palate. A few slices brought balance to a bowl, salt, sour, and crunch, turning simple rice into a meal and reminding everyone how yesterday's labor could still feed today. Kare raisu, curry rice powder era. A mild, cozy curry ladled over rice, thick with potato, carrot, and onion, and a shy hint of spice. The pot begins with a little oil, a curl of onion, curry powder blooming just long enough to speak. Vegetables simmer until they yield and the sauce finds its body. Spice tins sat on store shelves, a small bit of meat when there, stretched far in a gravy built for sharing. Even without much, the pot felt generous. This was comfort imported and adapted. A weeknight bowl that made the house smell warm, brought everyone to the table fast, and proved that flavor travels well when families do. 6. Sukiyaki, chicken, beef bits, vegetables. A sweet, salty skillet built from what a paycheck or neighbor's butcher paper allowed. Small pieces of chicken or beef, onions, garden greens, tofu, and noodles if someone had them. The cook browns the scraps just long enough to wake the pan, then splashes in soy and a little sugar so the glaze turns glossy and kind. Vegetables slip in to soften, cabbage, scallion, maybe a few mushrooms from a friend. And the broth gathers at the bottom like a promise. Offcuts kept costs low. Gardens filled gaps. Tofu shops or co-ops stretched the protein without complaint. On payday, this pot tasted like celebration without waste, big flavor from a small pile. Platters landed at the center of the table. Chopsticks reached across stories of the day and steam fogged the window while the field dust finally settled. 7. Grilled river fish with rice. A clean, direct supper. Trout or smelt salted, cooked hot, and eaten fast alongside rice and pickles. Someone rinses the fish at the pump, pats them dry, and shakes on salt so the skin blisters and the flesh stays sweet. A broiler, a wire rack, or a hot pan gets the job done. Streams and canals near the fields made fresh fish possible, and licenses were cheaper on slow weeks, so a weekend morning could feed a household by sundown. A squeeze of lemon when there was one, a dab of grated radish if luck allowed, otherwise just heat, salt, and thyme. Pride rode home in a bucket, then onto the plate. Silvery skin, simple rice, a bowl of tea. Shared quickly, it tasted like a good day. A reminder that honest work and a clear creek could still put something bright on the table. Canned salmon daikon nimono. Ocean taste from a shelf. Pink salmon from a cannery tin simmered gently with daikon rounds, soy, a little sugar, and the curl of ginger. The daikon goes in first to drink the broth. The fish slides in last so it stays tender, and the pot never boils angry. Cans were inexpensive and steady when the week ran long and the market sat miles away. Daikon came in by the armful from rows planted thick, reliable in every season. Together they made a bowl that felt bigger than the cost. Soft, savory, and fragrant. Ladled over rice, it bridged ocean and inland field, letting families taste tidewater even on landlocked nights. The warmth lingered, and the ginger cleared the day's dust as the table fell quiet in that familiar, satisfied way. Thine, kin piragobo, burdock carrot stir-fry. A quick pan of roots cut into matchsticks, burdock for chew and earth, carrot for sweetness, fried hot and glazed sweet-salty with soy and sugar, finished with a pinch of pepper and sesame. The knife does most of the work. The skillet just brings shine and snap. Burdock rows thrived where the soil ran deep, and carrot culls from sorting bins meant flavor without spending. So kinpira turned field edges into a favorite side. It cooks in minutes, tastes like more than it costs, and keeps well in a jar for bentos and late shifts. A small bowl brightens heavier plates, balancing starch and stew with crunch and spice. Served warm or cool, it's the taste of work becoming meal. Proof that thrift can be lively and a little bit bold. 10. Okayu rice porridge with egg or scallion. A soft, soothing porridge that stretches a handful of grains into a pot large enough for everyone who needs it. Rice simmers with extra water until each grain loosens, then a beaten egg swirls in silkily, or a fistful of sliced scallion lands bright on top. It's the bowl for illness, fatigue, and thin weeks, easy on the stomach, gentle on the budget, kind to the cook. When rice ran short, okayu made time and water do part of the feeding. When spirits ran low, its steam felt like a hand on the shoulder. A little soy, a shard of nori, or a spoon of pickles on the side turned simple into complete. Served quietly, it said, "Rest now, you've done enough, and tomorrow we'll try again." The foodways of Japanese-American families in the Central Valley were shaped by long rows, small kitchens, and careful hands. Rice stretched with barley kept pace with field hours. Pickles from rice bran crocks brightened plain bowls. Tofu from neighborhood makers stood in for meat when wages dipped or boats came back light. Seaweeds and soybeans waited quietly on pantry shelves, ready to turn broth into supper. Daikon and kabocha filled pots through winter. A handful of chicken or beef, trimmings, backs, or scraps could flavor a whole pan when paired with onions, greens, and thyme. Curry powders from tins, barley from feed stores, and tins of salmon or mackerel from the cannery tied California work, to taste carried from home. What emerged wasn't nostalgic fusion. It was a practical table with a steady voice, modest, nourishing, and unmistakably their own. Meals arrived by rhythm more than recipe. Morning bentos traveled in cloth-wrapped tins. Noon meant onigiri with a sharp plum and a quick sip of miso. Evenings called for gentle broths, glossy stews, and rice served without apology. On feast days, mochi went into soup. In lean weeks, breadcrumbs stood in where cheese might have been. The point was never spectacle. It was stamina, dignity, and the pleasure of eating together after the sun slid off the rows. If these dishes stir a memory of field bentos, altar day pasta, or curry on rice, share your family's Central Valley story. Which bowl would you bring back this week? And what small trick helped it stretch? Barley in the rice, pickles from the garden, soybeans simmered sweet salty. Add your voices to the table so these quiet suppers keep feeding more than hunger. Based on community and church cookbooks, Japanese language newspapers, farm diaries, parish and social club menus, cannery records, and oral histories from the 1900s, 1930s. Names and methods varied by prefecture tradition, budget, and season. The spirit was consistent: thrift with care, flavor without waste, historical best effort, Sources noted in description: vintage cookbooks, newspapers, oral histories, archives.